We'll do a bunch of stuff. I love that tune.
Good evening and welcome to Field Talk. I am the Field, also known as Field of Bears, here to remind you that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide. And before I get started, I do have some hellos. Hello to Boulder, hello to Dom, hello Andrew J, hello B, hello to the last Moomin. There we go. I think that's everyone so far. So I want to talk just a little bit about the professions of honor, and the fact that in order to get some people to do certain professions, it is necessary to trade with them in honor, because, well, they're honorable people, and that's what they want out of the job. For instance, hello, Pablo Escobar, over there on the, what is that? Shucks. I suddenly can't remember. Periscope. Oh, hi, David. Yeah, that's it, Andrew. The Periscope. There are certain professions that require there are some certain professions that people require to receive honor from the people that they serve in order for them to perform it. I'm certain that the image of a knight comes to mind because, well, in our culture, we see movies with knights covered in armor, riding horses, blathering on about their honor and how it must be defended, and the honor of their ladies, yada, 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 yada. But that's not really what honor is. And so let's go ahead and drill down to what I mean by this concept called honor before we go forward. And honor is the esteem that is earned by serving your community. And you see that people get this earned esteem in certain professions. The profession of doctor, for instance. Since the doctor undergoes rigorous study in order to learn how to prevent disease or injury from taking your life or livelihood. And for that, incredible dedication and skill that is often a lifesaver to many people, you no doubt treat the gentleman with great esteem. You honor him. Or the lady, of course, because nowadays that can happen. Lord knows how to get out of the kitchen. Anyway, another one is a firefighter. Because he undergoes strenuous physical training to ensure that he is physically capable of fighting fires or rescuing people from fires. And you see that they pull people out of fires all the time, and they do their best to keep a fire from spreading and often save people's homes. And they are honored for that. Another one is paramedic. They undergo great personal risk to go to a hazardous location in order to provide emergency medical service to people and transport them to the hospital. It's a very risky job, and on top of that, it also requires very rigorous study in order to make sure that you're not misapplying your techniques, because improper medical treatment can kill somebody. It can leave somebody worse off than if you do nothing at all. But there's another profession that, for some reason, people don't get honor for. And there are specific reasons for that. There's actually a couple I can think of that I think I shall opine are hard done by. Do not receive the honor that I believe them to have earned. And these are the soldier. No, I don't just mean U.S. Army. I am using this as a general professional term that includes all armed service members. So, going forward, we'll work with that. I'm sorry, Marines. I know you're different. I really do. And you're obviously better. And the policeman, or police officer. Now, the soldier is derided as a oppressor, as a foreign adventurer, and, well, people forget to realize that he is sent there by politicians, and it's not really his fault where he gets sent. He's got a specific kind of makeup, the kind that wants to defend his country, and in the recruitment office, they don't tell him, oh, you're going to go off on a foreign adventure and kill foreign people for no good reason at all. They tell him you will be defending the freedom of the people that you love. That's what they tell him. So if you have a problem with what the armed forces are doing, then I suggest you take it up with the politicians who vote to send them to foreign fields to kill and die for what you surmise to be no good reason. And stop deriding the people who have essentially been lied to, just as much as you. And then we get the policeman. Officer, I'm sorry. Now everyone's happy when a firefighter shows up because, well, he's there to rescue you. Your house is on fire, and he's gonna barge in there and pull that giant beam off of you and carry your fat sorry self out of there, even though you've got a broken leg or whatever. And hooray for him! He's very heroic and undergoes great personal risk to save your sorry behind. But the police officer shows up at your door, and more likely than not, he's there, well, because you're in trouble. Or maybe not even that much in trouble. Maybe your neighbor can't work up the stones to come and tell you to please turn down your music. And so the police officer has become the face of the cold judgment of the law, or the, what would you call it? The impersonal busybodying of your neighbors. I think this would be quite unfair because being a police officer is a very risky profession. Now, I know that it is not the most dangerous job. It's not even in the top 10 most dangerous jobs. But you fail to understand that in addition to regularly exposing themselves to the criminal element, which is inherently dangerous because the criminal element might decide to do something criminal in their general vicinity and aimed in their general direction. Because let's face it, the criminal element rarely has very good accuracy. But also, just think about how dangerous a traffic stop can be, and not because the person they pulled over might wish them any harm, but because they're on the side of a highway, and someone might lose control of their vehicle for a split second and go careening off into some poor police officer who's just trying to let somebody know that their car has been damaged. Or maybe he's writing a speeding ticket, which, well, the driver's not having a great day, but he doesn't deserve to die over doing that. At least I don't think so. And circling back to the whole criminal element thing is, when you regularly expose yourself to the part of society that most people do not want to be dealing with, in fact, that's why you're there. You're there because the neighbors do not want to deal with the couple screaming at each other and their kids crying. You're there because the neighborhood does not want to deal with the crack dealer. You're there because the neighborhood surely does not want to be dealing with somebody who had just participated in a drive-by shooting. These are the people that the police are called to go and deal with. And yeah, I know in suburbia, you might have the cops show up to your door and go, "We've got a noise complaint." And that's annoying. But then you just say, "Well, you've stated your business. I understand. I will be turning down the music at this point. You can go. Have a good night." And that's all that has to be done. And maybe you're not having a great night after that, but the cop really didn't want to be wasting their time with such a silly call. And if only you could figure out which neighbor it was, then you could just have a chat and say, "Hey, you can just come over and tell me." But unfortunately, that's not what we're dealing with. Or you might have been pulled over and you might think that the police officer was being unnecessarily gruff with you. Oh, sure, but you might have been unnecessarily gruff with him. Who knows? Surely not anybody who you're talking to, because you're, of course, painting yourself in the best possible light. And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those the police are always right kind of guys. I understand that the police is uniquely vulnerable to the problem of corruption. And since they are armed enforcers of the law, who have a lot of mm, leeway, a lot of, what would you call it? What would you, judgment? No, that's not the word. They just have a lot of discretion. There we go. Is my chat not working? Who firefighters do? I'm a little bit worried at the moment that the. Okay, hello, Sarge. Okay, my chat is working. You guys were just enthralled by my sultry voice, as it were. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I am not gung ho on the police. I really am not. When I was a kid, my father was arrested for resisting arrest because the police officer became annoyed at him for pulling into a well lit public parking lot rather than stopping in the middle of the left hand turn lane when he turned his lights on. And it took quite a deal of money we didn't exactly have at the time, and a lot of time and stress for it finally to be brought before a judge to hear the arguments and see the evidence and dismiss the case. I am still quite a bit salty about that. Had the property harassed by you might call it a vindictive neighbor. So anytime we'd have a party of any size at the house, would wait for the noise ordinance time to kick in and call, "Hello, robot bear." And so we'd be dealing with police disgruntled by the fact that they're out to be on a noise complaint rather than anything useful. My brother was arrested because he was unknowingly trespassing on an access road that people commonly use for recreation, because the sign had been covered by foliage. And as we all know, as property owners, your private property signage needs to be clearly visible from the road and not covered by dense foliage. However, the police officer arrested him on suspicion of terrorism because he was completing a photography project for school. Now that story gets a bit funnier, but for the sake of not embarrassing my mother, I won't be talking about how the court case actually went. But a 210-pound man did not need to wrench the arm of a 110-pound high school sophomore. Yeah, not so great. And when I was a senior in high school, my friends and I, we looked up the laws. We found that so long as we were using biodegradable BBs and the orange tips were present on our airsoft guns, then we were perfectly within our rights to be shooting at each other with airsoft guns in the park. However, we had no less than 4 patrol cars roll up on us on the grass and surround us, and the police tell us that we were in violation of the city ordinances against discharging a firearm within city limits and threatening to arrest us. However, we were able to, through my friend's quick wit and my ornery insistence that if they wanted to be doing anything, then I'd be calling my father, they managed to get them to leave us alone. Yeah, the actual charge Boulder was trespassing, but the cop said he suspected him of terrorism. Yeah, sure. It was farcical, Boulder. Yeah, the last movement. I do not live in Airstrip 1. I do not need a license for that toy gun. So, I've got lots of reasons to not be so pleased with the police. But here's the thing. I can recognize that most of them are not like those guys in my stories. Most of them are just decent people who want to do a job and expect to get their compensation in return for the job. They are attracted to the job because they're told that their job is to protect and serve the community. And so, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. Have a good day, sir. Stay safe, officer. Anytime I happen upon a police officer in my town, that's how I treat them. I'm not rude. I'm not calling them a road pirate. I'm not calling them piggy, piggy, piggy. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not flipping them off. I'm not hassling them in any way because they're a police officer in my town and I got to live here with them. Because in return for putting themselves at risk, these men and women expect honor, and I give it to them. And here's why. This year, the number of police killed in action does not exceed the number of police suicides. So far, anyway. I don't like suicide. It annoys me. It irritates me. It really gets me angry. Probably because, well, I've been a bit too close to it. You know? But it's also really heartbreaking. I don't think that I don't think that anyone should be driven to suicide. Well, meant that. I don't think that anyone, well, no. Not even people who you might think deserve to die shouldn't be driven to do it by their own hand, by other people. If you think that somebody else deserves to die, then murder by driving someone to suicide is probably the most cowardly kind of murder to commit. But moving on from that heavy subject, on back onto the other one of suicide, it rips apart families. It it devastates a community. It leaves friends wondering, what could I have done? Dear God, how could I have helped my friend? And the thing is, if you go to work day in and day out, and sure, you're getting your money, you're getting your pay, but that's not important. You don't decide to be a police officer just to get the pay. You want to protect and serve your community, and you want to be recognized for it. And if you go in to work, you put on your uniform, and people are spitting on you, and people are throwing bottles of urine on you, people are calling you all manner of names, people are calling you racist for things that other people have done, people are calling you an oppressor, people are calling you terrible, awful names all day long, and you go and you see your profession called these things by the mainstream media when you get home, and there's just no getting away from it. How long could you stand up to that? And I don't think it's okay that we're making people stand up to that. Because the ones the rare individual will have the fortitude to stand against that kind of abuse and not be corrupted by it, and not be driven to suicide by it, and not be driven to quit by it. So you'll end up with the rare shining example of an absolutely wonderful police officer, and the rest will be days away from quitting out of frustration. Not exactly a great state of mind to be in. Or will be utterly despicable. Hello, Big Riggin Bear, and hello, Cold as Ice Bear. So here's the final thing on honor, on trading. Here's the last thing I'm going to say about that, about honor in the police. And this actually, I think it applies to soldiers as well. Maybe to a lesser degree at this point in time, but the rate of... We'll talk about soldiers later on a different show. I need to do more research. If all that a person earns by doing a profession is slights against his honor, then you shall not find an honorable individual who should like to take up that profession. I'll leave you with that, and we'll go into Florida Man.
Florida Man. We all said no, he said, yes, I can. Florida Man. He always gets caught, he never has a plan. Florida Man. We all said no, he said, yes, I can. Florida Man. He always gets caught, he never has a plan. Florida Man. He's at it again. Florida Man. We all said no, he said, yes, I can. Florida Man.
And that was, of course, by The Last Moomin, who is in the chat right now. Go subscribe to his channel. My mic on? Yes, my mic is on. I don't want to have another boomer moment, guys. I've had too many of those. So, South Florida man calls cops after being scammed over paid sex. A Florida man learned that even if you've been hoodwinked by crooks, sometimes it's best just to keep it quiet. Florida man, 50, found out the hard way on March 22nd when he called West Palm Beach police to report that he had been scammed after paying for sex and then never receiving the so-called activity. According to WPTV, Florida man said he offered 4 people $500 for at least one of them to come to his hotel room for sexual relations. Florida man said he was made the call to the cops after the people... Get an editor! I think this is supposed to mean Florida man said he made the call to the cops after the people he gave the money did not show up. Get an editor, guys. Jeez. The officer on scene asked Florida man to confirm that he was soliciting another person for sex, which he did. Florida man was arrested and charged with 1 count of soliciting a prostitute. Oh, Florida man. Look, Florida man, We know it's tough out there, Florida man. Really, we do. And I'm not judging you, Florida man. I'm really not. I'm not judging you for trying to pay for it. I understand. I wouldn't do it. But hey, you're 50. And I'm not in your position. But here's the thing, Florida man. Just don't call the cops when you commit a crime. I'm sorry, I have to. It's my Big Riggin Bear. I have to translate it. I have to translate it, Big Riggin. And I'll tell you why. Because I have to. Anyway, if you enjoyed the show, please hit the like button and subscribe to see more. And if you really enjoyed the show, you can share the link with your friends and enemies. Hello, Cowboy Bear. I know it's not quite as long as it used to be, but I'm only going off the cuff. And look, I can probably go for longer if we get more people in the chat. So, if you enjoy the longer shows, then bring more people in the chat, right? And I can talk to you guys for longer, because then there will be more happening in the chat for me to pay attention to after I've made my point, and we can talk about it, and you guys can give me ideas, and we'll have a really good time. So if you enjoy the stream and you would like it to last longer, then share it with your friends and enemies. And if you want to see the show again, please subscribe and hit the notification bell to possibly get notified. If you would like to see more content from yours truly, you can follow me on the various social media sites in the links on the description below. Gab is probably the best one, but the Instagram has only pictures of the ranch. And if you do follow me on one of those social medias, then you will get the links through that. And if you would like to support the show, you can buy for yourself your very own handsome mug. And the link labeled mug in the description below. Or you can just throw me some shekels, because some people who we definitely know who they are already have plenty of shekels at paypal.me/fieldtalk. I think that's all my shills. I think that's all of them. Yes. And as always, oh no, have a great evening. Have a great night. Have a good night. And as always, never forget that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide.